What's happening, Browns fans, OBR subscribers, and followers of the OBR streaming network? Welcome to this week's edition of Pete and Joe as we're getting ready to kick off Browns OTAs. We got the Cavs and the Knicks kicking off the Eastern Conference Finals tonight. We got the Gardos and the Tigers. We got lots of action. Pete Smith, how you doing, homie?
I'm good. You look a little winded. You all right there?
I mean, not winded. Not winded. I've got some stuff going on. I've got some extra chores around the house these days. No big deal. No big deal. If anybody's wondering, Pete is referencing the family got a new puppy, got a new golden retriever. He's about 9.5 weeks now. He's adorable and one of the 5 or 6 worst creatures on the planet. He's just absolutely disastrous, but it's amazing. It's the absolute best. But aside from all that, Pete, man, what do you got? What do you got for OTAs coming up? Why is it that I feel like Deshaun Watson is like the Undertaker meme of him rising out of the casket every time I think we're done with it? There's a new report that he's in the driver's seat for the starting job. Daniel Oyefesi says he's open to re-signing. That made me gag a little bit. Where are we at here, Pete? Talk me off the ledge.
Wait, he's open to re-sign? As opposed to what? The UFL? Like, is there a market that I don't know about? Is there a hunger out there for 31 other teams going, we can't wait till this guy gets out there? Of course he's willing to resign. You just got $230 million to do nothing. By all means, I will sign to take more of money. Take more of you. Of course he will. Like that's crazy. As far as like what is actually going to happen, my whole thing is just tap the brakes on all of it. In other words,
of course.
I think the Browns are going to take their time figuring this thing out for a number of reasons. One, he should be ahead at this point. Whether that's going to hold or not is to be seen. But like, if he's not, that would be great because that would mean, hopefully that means Shedeur Sanders is or Dylan Gabriel or whoever is better. If it's Taylor Green, I don't care. If one of them is better enough that we're not talking about it, great. But this is sort of what the expectation would be. And there's 2 elements to this. One, there were a lot of people got fooled by Deshaun Watson before, looking good in practice stuff where nobody's hitting him and all this other stuff, and then couldn't play when it actually mattered. So I think it's prudent for the Browns to sort of wait for that because if like I've seen all this talk about, hey, let's name him the starter now, or we need to name a starter by the June minicamp, which certainly I understand why you'd want to have a starter. I just don't think it has any credibility because
could you have a real competition if that's when you're naming your starter, honestly?
Well, not only that, but just you have the potential is there for you to then have to turn around in late August or September and go, yeah, we're not doing this. Like it invites a whole lot of problems that I think Todd Monken is smart enough to know that he doesn't know, and he's not going to force this issue. And also, if I were him, he's got 3 young quarterbacks. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here going, well, maybe Taylor Green is going to like wow everybody and win the job. But like, you've got 3 young quarterbacks. You'd like to see these guys like grow and figure it out and like see if they can't get better. And hopefully you get to a point where like, insert guy. Yeah, he looks pretty interesting. And that guy's got a chance of being here next year. Whereas, despite his wanting to resign, the Browns want to give me money. I will sign. I mean, it means nothing. So it makes all the sense in the world for them to let this thing play out, see what happens, and then make a decision. I don't get the urgency. The other part, the other reason I don't get the urgency is, I get it, but like, I don't think it's warranted, is you've got Harold Fant in year 2, Dylan Sampson in year 2, Quinshon Judkins in year 2, Casey Concepcion in year 1, Denzel Boston in year 1, Joe Royer in year 1, Carson Ryan in year 1. Like, Jerry Jeudy is a haggard old man on this offense compared to the other guys. He's 27.
Yeah.
Like, they've got nothing but youth. So like everything on this and the offensive line it's sort of independent in how it's ultimately going to operate, but it's like, it's going to take some time to get itself figured out. So there is no rush to get anything decided at this point. You've got so much to figure out, to grow and evolve. Why do we need to put any urgency on any of this? And then the one other element, which I imagine we're going to touch on at some point, is the schedule. The first 3 games are two games back to back on the road in Florida, and then hosting Carolina. Those 3 games, one, are all very losable, and you could easily see a scenario where the Browns are 0-3. But to me, those 3 games are the games you have to get whatever needs to be gotten out of your system. By week 4, you need to be figured out and ready to go. So I don't have a sense of extra urgency going, well, the Browns are playing the Jets week 1 or something. We've got to put the proven veteran out there because, or quote unquote proven. We have to put him out there because we've got to win this football game. Like, and it's not to say that they aren't trying to beat the Jags. Obviously they are, but like, if you're going to lose games this year, losing to the Jags on the road, nobody's going to hold that against you. Now, how you lose is obviously going to be important. And if you lose the Bucs on the road, there's hurt feelings there, whatever, but most people aren't going to be like, well, this thing's a disaster.
Yeah.
So you've got a little bit of a ramp up period to sort of get figured out. And like, teams treat the first like month of the season as like preseason anyway, of sort of ramping yourselves up. So that's the other reason I think there's reason to wait. And I'm not suggesting they do like the college thing where, hey, Shador gets to start 2 games and Deshaun starts 2 games, but it's more along the lines of you made your decision going into game 1, and then you're sort of getting the kinks out, getting it ironed out, and hopefully you're polished and ready to go before you get that game Thursday against the Steelers.
So and that makes a ton of sense, Pete. And I certainly hope that's the case. And I mean, we've been pretty consistent. We've been on the same page with all this. We're both ready to move on from Watson and all that stuff. I guess my issues stem from my fear and my lack of faith in Jimmy Haslam and Andrew Berry not trying to get something out of this deal or even back end try to save this deal. Like if Deshaun, I don't even think he's going to make it through the preseason healthy, let alone play well. Like, it's not even that he might do this, that, the other. I think he's going to be terrible. I think it's going to be a disaster, all that stuff. But man, I'm definitely worried that they're not ready to close the book on this guy. And I feel like that's a valid concern. You've got the GM that pulled the trigger and you've got the owner that signed off on it. Hell yeah, I'm scared blankless that they're going to try to justify this and try to give him another 2 to 3 years to make this right. And that genuinely scares the bejesus out of my fanhood, Pete. It really does.
I think Andrew Berry is ready to move on. I think at this point, anything with Deshaun Watson, unless it's winning football games, just makes it look worse. Like, there's no upside. I think people accuse him of not being willing to move on from sunk costs. I think he's over it. I think he was over it last year. I think he's been over it. Jimmy Haslam, I think, is only focused on wins. Yeah. I don't think he's trying to resuscitate this for the sake of resuscitating. I think he understands it's not going to work. I think he's entirely looking through the lens of, if Deshaun Watson can win his football games, great. Now, my issue is that I think Jimmy Haslam would be wise to have sort of a bigger view on this thing and say, and rather, I think he looks at this as something where he has nothing to lose at this point other than what's already gone. I would disagree with that assertion. I think there's something to lose with Deshaun Watson starting football games at this point. I think there are still fans who are either didn't leave the first time and are sort of hanging around and going, this is really interesting. Or maybe, you've got some people hanging on, the Shador people are their own sort of element. They're going to basically be here for Shador. I also think there is, in fact, I know there's some of these. There are some people who are flirting with the idea of coming back and saying, the Browns have done some really good things. I've sort of gotten past I'm sort of done being mad at them. Yep. And I like some of the stuff that's going on, and there's some really interesting players, and, I sort of miss it and all these things. But if they roll them out there again, I'm not doing this. So that's where I'm sort of at, where I think Jimmy Haslam specifically just says, how do I get the most wins? Because that is clearly his focus. I wish it was a little bit bigger than that, but that's where he's at. So there's no scenario the Jack Duffins present the only scenario where I could see Deshaun Watson coming back, which is he signs basically as a backup for $5 million or whatever, for the sake of being able to stretch cap hits further. I'm over it. Like, there's no scenario. I don't care if the Browns somehow go to the Super Bowl and win. I'm still done with Deshaun Watson. I have no interest, but like, there's nothing there for me. And everything for me. There's certainly things I'm interested in terms of the present, but I'm really interested in present and future. And Deshaun Watson is never in my thought process for either of those things.
All right. Well, let's just hope that they agree with that sentiment inside the halls of Berea. All right. Well, let's talk about. I want to go over some camp battles, Pete, because we've got a very young, very talented offense. We're gonna have a lot of young players competing for some pretty important positions, but like stuff that like we talked about wide receiver all offseason, Pete. I mean, we're gonna have to get rid of players that I enjoy and that I kind of want to see a little bit of. Like that's kind of the point that we've gotten to. We're not going to be getting rid of any Pro Bowlers or anything like that, but like, okay, we're going to start with the camp battle at wide receiver, right? I've got the fifth wide receiver and a special teams guy, and the guys that I've got vying for this position for special teams, I've got Malachi Corley, Tylan Wallace, and Gage Larbadan. And then for the fifth wide receiver, I've got Cedric Tillman, Isaiah Bond, and Jamari Thrash. Now, Tillman and Bond are also one of those guys is going to be the fourth receiver. Right. So I guess the loser of that would be the fifth and then would compete with Jamari Thrash. But you got anything on these guys that I've just named? I mean, I know that we, have spoken about a Cedric Tillman deal eventually.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking at contracts. Isaiah Bond is signed for multiple more years. It's certainly not like some back-breaking contract, but he signed. Like, that's the big difference between him and Tillman. Not only that, Tillman, who I really like, this is what it pains me because I think Tillman's a good football player. He's just been absolutely devastated by injuries. Is on the last year of his deal. There's this is at the point where you're like, if it's not above a certain threshold, we might as well move on. I think we're well in that. I think they're going to hang on to him to the point where one, obviously an offer comes in, and then two, making sure that Denzel Boston looks like a guy. Because they largely operate the same role. Not to say they couldn't both be on the field at the same time. They certainly could. But you have a tough time if you're just like hashing out roles. Casey Concepcion and Jerry Jeudy are the deal. Those are the guys who are going to be leading this offense. Denzel Boston and Cedric Tillman both sort of largely inhabit this area of chain mover, big receiver, X, can block. Boston's a better high point contested catch guy, where Tillman's a little bit more interesting down the field. But like, there's a lot of crossover there. Yeah. Isaiah Bond is a different animal because Isaiah Bond is here to stretch the field. And that is a very valuable role. Not only is it valuable and he's young, but particularly if he's wide receiver 4 and you can roll out a situation where you go Jeudy, Concepcion, Boston, Fannin, you go empty and throw it Isaiah Bond out there, and you just say, Isaiah Bond, run over the mountain. I will throw it there. Like, the defense has to deal with all of these things, and that's really problematic, which is why this is why I've always said in a good offense, Isaiah Bond is great as a wide receiver 4. If he catches a 40-yard pass every second game, you're going to be like, I love this guy. So we'll see where that goes. And then I think Malachi Corley is probably safer than maybe I should. He just does a lot of things that are really interesting. One, he is a manufactured touch guy. And if you are, it's so annoying because people think I like have this undying affection for Kevin Stefanski. And I suppose that's true in some sense, but like, there are certain things he did that I think makes sense for Todd Monken to do. In other words, Malachi Corley was really good when he handed the ball. He was also really good as a fake key, where he'd do things like go in motion. And the defense had to be aware of the fact that he could get the ball and then play it so that you could fake that and go the other way. Like, that's really valuable. And if he can develop at all as a receiver, he's a big, strong kid. Like, that's the part that you sort of, if you just sort of like, if you look at his stats, Malachi Corley did practically nothing last year, but he's memorable for people because you'd hand him the ball and he's 210 pounds and he ran through people. So if he can learn anything about being a receiver, that makes him interesting. And the other element is that he also can return kicks. And if he can figure that part out better than he did last year, That's also interesting for the same reason. He's 210 pounds and can run through people. In that sense, I'm not saying this is a direct one-for-one comparison. Stylistically, it can remind you of Josh Cribbs in just how he runs. So I think he's probably safer than other people do. And again, it comes down to that threshold. What is the benefit for the Browns of I understand if you're like this selfish person, you go, I'm tired of having bad receivers. And you sit there and you go, so I don't want to get rid of Cedric Tillman, even if he's wide receiver 6. I don't think the Browns think that way. I think if he's clearly in below Boston at any point, they're sort of waiting for a phone call, potentially to the Kansas City Chiefs, for reasons I couldn't imagine why. And then they make a deal and try to get something back for him, because there's a world where he's actually like a pretty good receiver somewhere else. I mean,
I thought he was a good receiver for us when he was healthy and when he had a quarterback. He made plays.
And notably, he was really good with Jameis Winston.
Yep.
So that's the other part. Like, if he had a really good quarterback, I think he will be better. So at this point, I sit here and go, look, I'm rooting for him. Wherever he goes, I really like him. But at this point, I think Cedric Tillman's going to end up on another team. And the guy who's sort of vying for it, hanging on the roster, and potentially being ousted by somebody else is Jamari Thrash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think Thrash is more on the way out. My thing is, I agree with you about Corley. I like Corley better than Tylan Wallace, but I just think Tylan Wallace has the trust of the coaching staff. I think they really like him. He's a veteran, all that stuff. You know, I could see him getting the nod over Corley just because of his history with the coach. You know, and he can return kicks. He can return punts. Corley didn't return punts. I don't think he has returned punts. I'd be interested to see if he could, you know, but we've got KC now, you know.
In Boston, theoretically, not that I want him to do it, but he theoretically
No, of course, but it's an interesting thought, though. You know, my whole thing with Cedric Tillman, Pete, like this is a big, strong, talented kid. This is a good football player. It's just the time ran out on him. He wasn't healthy enough, and his contract's up after this year. Like, there's just like, you're not going to go much further with that because you're not going to extend him. You can't rely on him. It just hasn't worked. And, you know, it's just the name of the game, you know? So the Boston pick to me is what signaled that they're moving off from Cedric. And as soon as they get a call that's anywhere near what they want, they'll pull that trigger.
Yeah. I mean, Kansas City, I'm just saying, your one of your receivers is just had knee surgery and is about to go to jail. It might be time to offer, I don't know, like a second-round pick. Let's not get crazy, but second-round pick. No, I expect it will be some sort of, you know, the Browns send a 6th to get, and Tillman to get somebody's 5th or something like that, which won't feel great. And I wouldn't put it past Tillman to have like a pretty productive season either. That's the other part that I think this has all the potential to like be a thing where people look back and go, man, that sucked. It did not feel good because Cedric Tillman went and played well. Now, having said that, if Boston plays well, I think most people will sort of be like, yeah, well, this is sort of where we were going anyway. Yeah. But the one thing I'll say with Jamari Thrash is like, he's another guy. Look, I think he's clearly at the bottom of the depth chart trying to fight his way up. I will say, like,
he's a nice football player.
In a couple glimpses where the ball went to him, he was kind of interesting. Like, I, as much as like you sit here and go, he hasn't really done anything. And you're right. I also sit there and go, has he really had a shot to do much? And that's not to say that, like, I'm not saying he needs to be on the roster, that like they cannot part with him. I'm just saying that we probably haven't gotten really a great look at him with the rest of this offense.
Well, Pete, we absolutely have not. Like, you can't. Number one, the offensive line that we had last year made it impossible to judge anybody. Literally judge anybody. And that was right off rip. The tackles went down early. It was an absolute train wreck from there. But the receivers are the most dependent position in football. You got to depend on the line. You got to depend on your quarterback. You got to depend on the play calling. There's so many factors. Like, that's why they're all knuckleheads, because they can be open all game long, but the fans think you suck if the quarterback doesn't get you the ball. I'd be a diva too. Like, I get all that. And we haven't had a situation where guys could thrive outside of a short spurt with Jameis and the end of the year in 2023. Since then, you got to go back to Baker when he was healthy in 2020. Those are the gaps of quarterback play that this franchise has dealt with, man.
I missed that. And then, you know, I think Tyler Wallace is boned. I don't see it at all. Now, maybe I'll go to camp and be like, wow, Tyler Wallace. But, like, I think, granted, he has special teams experience, and that immediately goes, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I think he's the guy you put in the room and go, he knows the offense, and you make, he helps out, and he's getting paid to essentially be a coach. The other thing is, I think Gage Larvadain is probably, as long as he stays healthy, is probably a good bet for the practice squad.
Yeah,
I think
I can see that.
I think everybody sort of sits there and goes, yep, we'll probably end up cutting him at some point, and hopefully signs at the practice squad. And if we ever need to bring up a guy to return punts or whatever, we can put Larvadain. And Larvadain's fine. It's just, it's a good problem to have. I mean, it's frustrating from the Tillman element, but like, it's a good problem to have. The Browns have enough receivers that we have to think about this. Like, Aaron Anderson was impressive enough that he got himself a contract to at least be on the 90 man. And they've got that Cole Wilson kid who's another fidget. But we'll see. But like, yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough to make the roster, assuming guys stay healthy. That's the big thing. If they stay healthy, it's going to be brutal.
Well, one thing I'm kind of excited about to see through camp and through, this whole thing for the receivers is I feel like they're going to have some quarterbacks that can get them the ball, at least in practice. And, look, I'm expecting Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel to be markedly improved. I'm expecting both of those guys to be able to move the ball, especially in the preseason, in the third quarter, stuff like that. Like, I'm expecting Dylan Gabriel to play well in those scenarios. He's going to run into trouble when he, steps up in class, but I absolutely think he's going to be a preseason darling moving forward. And I feel like you're going to see whether it's Larvadain or Jamari Thrash or Tylan Wallace, you're going to see these guys able to make plays more so than we've seen in the last few years.
I don't know if it's going to happen tomorrow, but I expect those guys to do well in like 7-on-7. The weaponry is just way better.
Yeah.
And like, last year it was Jerry Jeudy and Harold Fannin and Cedric Tillman when he was healthy. And then, guys, now you've got wave after wave of guys that are competing that are going to be really good competition. Like, obviously we'll see if Denzel Ward and Tyson Campbell are participating, but like, we get to see the whole, if iron sharpens iron here, because if Concepcion and Boston are going against those two, theoretically that should make them better. We shall see. But to your point, like, one, I think Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel should be better. They should be more comfortable. Hopefully they've worked on things to specifically trying to improve for this year, for this offense, all the things. And then they've got better stuff around them. So I'm expecting them, we'll see about team. That's going to be a little bit different with the line and everything. But in 7-on-7, when it's just receivers and DBs, like a drill that is designed for you to succeed, I expect to see more success.
Yeah, agreed. And I frankly, I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited about this way the team looks. How about let's shift over to tight end, right? So Harold Fannon's the only guy that I have locked into making this roster. He's the only guy. Everybody else I could understand in a scenario where they don't make the team. That's just the reality of it. But so we're looking at tight ends 2, 3, 4, and maybe even a fullback if they decide to keep the fullback. But we've got Jack Stoll, we got Joe Royer, Carson Ryan, Mike Burton, Blake Whiteheart, and Brandon Bates. That's an interesting crop right there. And that does not inspire me. And it makes me want to wrap freaking Harold Fannin in bubble wrap and yell at anybody that looks at him wrong.
Yeah, I mean, tight end's the position where I sit there and go, we may not be done. I was glancing around depth charts to see there's teams with like 9 tight ends. I don't know if any of them are good. Like some of these guys
Rams. And the Rams drafted Max Clare, the jerks. Yeah, tight ends coming out of their ears.
But like the Eagles have like 9 guys.
Yeah.
So that may be a thing. Like, not only are they competing against each other, but they may be competing against guys who aren't here. We'll see. Jack Stoll isn't guaranteed anything. I like, much was made about adding him. I never guaranteed. Like, he aspires to be tight end 3 who can help on special teams.
Wasn't that a 1-year, $4 million? Like, not like fully, like only partially guaranteed. Like,
that's like
not
nothing. There's nothing. There's nothing attaching him to the roster.
Yeah.
Other than, hey, they signed Jack Stoll and nobody knew who he was, and it was like part of their free agent haul.
Yeah.
But no, there was no real money there. So he's not bad. I thought it was really interesting how much media they dedicated him to, because they just didn't have that many guys. So you watched him like walk around the building and talk to people. So yeah, I mean, Blake Whitehart, Brandon Bates, we've sort of seen what they do, and Blake Whitehart, occasionally had like a nice little moment. You're like, hey, Blake Whitehart, this is like a nice play, but like at no point were you going, I must have this guy on my roster. It was more of a pleasant surprise.
And you're never worried about him if you're on defense. That's never a guy that you want to pay attention to or feel that you have to pay attention to.
On the one hand, you've got these roles to sort of figure out. And as far as Burton goes, I assume the plan is they are trying to find somebody to beat that guy out. He's been in the league 12 years. Again, I think it's about he's a professional fullback. He understands how it's supposed to go, and they desperately need him to help guide that along. But regardless, we'll see. Carson Ryan can potentially be that. I'll be curious if I've noticed any weight gain in TJ Harding, if they want to put him back there or whatever. But like the flip side of that is it is nothing but opportunity for Carson Ryan and Joe Royer, because you're the only two guys who are drafted. There's to your point, nothing is concrete. It is all there for you to go in and earn a role and take a job. Now, obviously, they have a lot they'd like Carson Ryan to do. Where is he ultimately going to sort of find a home, and what can he do? What can't he do? They've got to sort of figure that out. Joe Royer, it's pretty clear what he can be. It's just a question if he's up to it. Can he be that second? Can he be an inline tight end and a receiving threat and some of these other elements that like you can find a useful role for him within an offense? To be determined. But this is why I think you're right that other than Harold Fannin, it's a whole lot of guys. Like everybody could be, not that they're going to get rid of all of them, but anyone is in jeopardy, and you could easily see them make a trade. You could easily see them sign somebody at some point. It is wide open.
Did you I haven't looked in a minute. I mean, I could probably pull it up. How about have you looked at free agents? Are there any free agent tight ends kicking around that are even worth anything at this point? Because I feel like we've looked at this list.
No, I think they're all signed. I think they are all signed. The issue is that they are just teams that have a ton of them, and at some point they're going to have to get rid of them, or they're holding on to them long enough, hoping that somebody's going to trade. Like, I think Harrison Bryant is on like the Houston Texans. It feels like he's like tight end 7.
Yep.
Just as an example. And as somebody who every time he's a free agent, I sit there and go, because he was like useful for this team and did a whole bunch of stuff. So if he's a guy who's cut, I can easily see Andrew Berry picking up the phone and be like, come on back. I mean, it was not an appealing option to me, but I understood why people were sort of like, why don't you bring back Austin Hooper in a smaller role and let him sort of be a guy? So I suspect there's going to be some guys out there where like you get down to cut down day and you're going to be like, yeah, I could totally see the Browns doing that, or a trade that involves a guy we're not going to keep for a guy they're not going to keep type deal. Yeah. I could see a lot of movement in that position, but at the same time, it's also going to be a little bit of a weird situation because all these teams, so many of these teams are trying to copycat and do this whole thing where they're trying to keep 5 tight ends because they want to do the 13 personnel stuff because that's in vogue. And my instinct to that is if everybody's going to do that, fine. Go the exact opposite way. Minimize your tight end. Not that you don't want to use them, but like focus on the other stuff because the talent pool is going to be so diluted that there's not going to be nearly enough to go around. There already isn't. And focus elsewhere. Now, not to get too far off topic, but I actually think the Browns, they didn't lean into the 13 tight end stuff like the way other teams did, but they did do the things necessary to theoretically, or they at least added personnel theoretically capable of defending it, which I find interesting.
Oh, Emmanuel.
Well, he's one. He's one of them.
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson theoretically could be in that mix. Some of the linebacker guys that they brought in, but we've talked about this. Like you and I both sort of like Donovan McMillan. Chris Edmonds. Like if the Browns were to keep 5 safeties,
I think they're going to.
Yeah,
I think they're going to. Yeah.
If you're gonna live in a world where you have 3 safeties on the field a lot, you have to have 5. Yeah. So you're naturally inclining yourself to then theoretically be able to defend it a little bit. And the Browns have a bunch of really tall safeties with not a long weight, but a decent but length and some heft that may be able to match up with this. If you get in a world where like Grant Delpit can obviously do it, Ronnie Hickman might be able to do it, and Emmanuel McNeil-Warren has at least done it. Yeah, like that becomes a pretty good situation. You've still got questions, you got all these stuff. But anyway, that's way off topic, but I just find that interesting that we saw all these teams sort of freak out and go, hey, we want to do this 13 personnel stuff. And the Browns were one of the teams who said, okay, we're going to do something to defend it. And at some point, I'm hoping that I'm going to get a chance to ask about that, because that seems like it's going to be like if Mike Rutenberg does a press conference or safeties coach or whatever, Ephraim Banda, like I'm very curious to see if that was part of the thinking with this, that everybody's sort of going, hey, this is the in vogue thing. We've got to be able to stop it.
Yeah. Well, and looking over the roster, just the talent and the depth at safety versus corner, I would be more inclined to take a fifth safety than a sixth corner personally.
Oh, not even
especially from
not even close. Not even close. I think that's a pretty much a given at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's a given. It's more of a question of, can they get to a point where they can put a fourth safety on the field in some of their dime stuff, or do they still feel compelled to go 3-3 or whatever?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's shuffle this one. This one is my interesting camp battle, and this one I honestly, Pete, I find this fascinating, and it's the fifth starter on the offensive line. And we've been talking ever since the draft, right? You're looking at center, you're looking at right guard, and you're basically looking at wherever Elgin Jenkins doesn't start, right? Or Elton Jenkins doesn't start. So we've got Parker Brailsford, we've got Luke Whippler, Zach Zinter, Tevin Jenkins, and I'm going to throw Austin Barber and KT Leviston. Although I feel like there was talk about Leviston moving into guard earlier in the offseason, but we've just seen him primarily at tackle so far. But I would like to. What's that?
Well, I've seen one day.
Well, yeah. I mean, but it's one day at tackle, I don't want to just assume that they're putting him there if we haven't seen it. But I like the idea of him at guard. I thought that was interesting. What's your take on those 5 offensive or 6 offensive linemen and how they would fit? And what would you personally like to see them do?
I think KT Leviston is in a very tough spot. He has to prove himself to be viable at guard, and I don't know that he can, but we shall see.
Yeah.
I worry everybody's theory of the case who look at KT Leviston go, they look at him and go, well, I think moving him to guard will help, that less space will help him. Except I based on what he does and doesn't do, I actually think that might actually put him in a worse situation. He does not play with great consistent leverage, and he's not particularly quick off the ball. So yes, he's got explosive power and he will get up and wrestle guys. But if he's not quick off the ball, the D tackle's past him, at least down the edge, you've got maybe some time to sort of work that thing out. That, everybody sits there and looks at him and goes, awkward. But when he got beat, yeah, there are occasionally times that he got beat going to the outside, but usually it was guys beating him inside.
Yeah.
So I don't love that. Now, in a 3-point stance, maybe that's a little bit different. And with practice and all these things, that could change. But the reason I worry about that is if he cannot do that, I think DeJuan Jones has the inside track to backup tackle, as does Austin Barber.
Yeah.
So if that's not the case, if that's the case, I think KT Leviston becomes a trade candidate, or assuming everybody stays healthy.
Yeah, of course.
When they made the switch to the type of lineman they are making, KT Leviston sticks out like a sore thumb. That is not what he is.
Yeah, I kind of felt like he was odd man out because of, everybody looks a certain way but KT.
Now, if you're going to run in this offense and you're going to sacrifice athleticism and you can get a explosively powerful man at right guard, you can live in that world. And if KT Leviston can prove himself that he can hang in there and do that and still flash the explosive power and be great on double teams and stuff like that, and just knock people off the ball, he could win the job. But
yeah,
I think that's probably rich. Great. He's young. If he could do it, that would be huge for this team. But I have a tough time seeing that. And the other part where I sit there and look at this and go, Luke Whippler either needs to win the job himself at center, or he needs Parker Brailsford to win the job at center. Yeah. Anything else, I don't think he's going to be here, and he may get traded. And I originally I was thinking he might get cut and put on the practice squad. However, there are so many teams that do not have centers, including one within the division.
Yeah,
that I could actually see somebody trading for trading for Luke Whippler, not in a similar deal as the Nick Harris deal, where the Browns, incidentally, Luke Whippler fractured his ankle, and then they had to go get Nick Harris from the Seahawks. I could see that being a theory, because I do not see a scenario where the Browns are like, yeah, we're going to cut Luke Whippler, and then he ends up in Baltimore. Not that I'm afraid of that outcome, but I think they want to at least get something for it. But if Parker Brailsford is that good, or Luke Whippler is healthy enough and can go out and win that job, great, he's got that spot. But that's how weird this sort of situation is. It's the difference between potentially a starter and not on the team. Those two players both sort of factor into that. And then obviously Elton Jenkins, it just sort of depends.
He's got to be healthy.
If Parker Brailsford is good enough, the Browns are thrilled. They can put Elton Jenkins at right guard, and they're loving life. Like, that's the best outcome for them. If they don't get enough at center, then they probably got to put Jenkins there, because it's just too important. I don't think they're going to allow, just to throw somebody in at center. As I could be wrong, but that seems unlikely to me, because they've got more bodies at guard. The other thing that I sort of look at is, like, I'm glad that they brought Tevin Jenkins back, but there's no scenario where he can start. You cannot say Tevin Jenkins is going to be the starter, because you know what will happen.
Yeah.
Not that I want it to happen, but his body will shut down at some point. He'd give you a stretch of games, maybe 2, maybe 3, before he's ultimately going to be knocked out. He can potentially be depth at tackle or guard. So you're not going to live that
for a long
life.
time, though. Like, he was drafted. Was he drafted in 2019 or 2020? He was 2020, right?
I believe so.
But it's been every year. It's been every single year. It's been something, So I mean, I'm with you. Like, I put him on that list, but I don't think he or the Browns expect him to compete for a starting position. I don't think that's why he's here.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to pretend he's anything else other than good depth. And if he has to play, he can give you starting caliber play.
Yeah.
But there's an expiration date on it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Now, let me ask you this. Have you heard anything, or do you personally feel like the Parker Brailsford stuff? How does the team feel? Like, does the team consider him a viable option to start, and they're just like hoping to see positive progression, or is this kind of a fan thing? Like, ooh, it would be so great if our 5th round pick could start at center.
Well, I think it's both. I think Todd Monken is sitting there thinking the same thing. He's just not stupid enough to say, we're going to do this. He needs to see it. He needs to prove it. Now, I think that's going to take probably longer than people want it to last. I mean, it's difficult for me to imagine they're going to go, yep, he's the starter, before they have pads on.
Yeah.
Before Mason Graham can get his hands on him when it matters. Maybe you don't even need pads. Maybe you can do it enough that you're either going to get sense that he can hold up against Mason Graham, or he can't. But you have to find out if he can handle Mason Graham push-pulling him, and Malik Collins at some point getting to go up against him and not sitting there and go, oh, crap. He also has to be able to make all the line calls and all that stuff. Look, he was number 20 on Bruce Feldman's Freaks list this past year. Strong. He has a huge torso. You like, he got little, very lean legs, but a huge torso. So you can see the strength. It's just a question of, can he hang in there? And then the other thing with him is I assume they're trying to get him to gain weight, but like, one-on-one, he's good in college, but like, when things bumped into him, when he got jostled by the guy next to him, that's where you saw him get sort of moved around and look uncomfortable, because there's just not much of him. So that's the other part that's going to be there. But I assume, we'll see where Elton Jenkins is in terms of his recovery and how cautious the Browns want to be on that. But until he's out there, I suspect they're going to give Parker Brailsford every rep he can handle.
Yeah.
And we'll see where that gets them. But I think that's going to be a big element.
Well, that's my whole thing as to why I think this has legs and this could be a thing. I just feel like because of injuries, he's going to get a ton of reps, just a ton of reps. And it's not like he has a ton of competition that's legitimate good competition standing in his way. It's just a bunch of guys looking for a shot. So here he is, a recent 5th round pick. And if he looks good, it makes all the sense in the world. And he's going to get plenty of opportunity to at least show it. I wouldn't expect it. And I mean, part of me, you heard
You heard the
Well, he's got an opinion.
yeah, he does.
Big Parker
He's got lots
Brailsford
of
guy.
opinions. He's got lots.
They're
of
about the
opinions.
same size, probably
Yeah,
similar body structure, little
Well,
legs,
yeah. Well,
big chest.
what's funny though is my folks are here, and they brought their dog too, and their dog's 4.5 months. He's like 3 times his size, and my dog won't stop fighting him at every turn. He just attacks. I'm like, dude, relax. Like I gotta pull him off you every time, you little psycho. I need you to take a chill. All right. Anyways, so yeah, back to Parker Brailsford. I don't know if I like. Part of me would be excited, but like part of me would be scared out of my mind. He's not a big dude, Pete.
No, I mean,
we got some dogs on D line in this division.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple elements to that part too. Is also, it's pretty clear what the Browns aspire to be able to run offensively, and Parker Brailsford fits into that. But they actually have to be able to do it, and if they can't, and suddenly they're in a world where they have to sort of sit there and hold tight, they're going to be in trouble. They have to be able to do things like run stretch. They have to be able to pin and pull. They have to be able to move the linemen and keep the defensive guessing as to who's blocking where and all this other stuff. If they are just sitting in a world where they are going basically one-on-ones and a whole lot of that stuff, like it ain't going to work with Parker.
I was just going to ask you, do you see this offensive line capable of dictating the physicality to a defensive line? I don't. They're going to be technicians, right?
It's not that they have to. I mean, certainly they have to prove they can hold up physically. Yeah. But like if you are not paying attention to his defense, Spencer Fandler's just going to get outside you. He's just going to beat you out there because he's that athletic. Zion Johnson is that athletic. Those guys can get outside of you. So so long as the Browns are good enough in what they execute to do that stuff and can keep the defense honest, like that's going to give them options. But if they are consistently behind the sticks and off schedule, and they're consistently having to do passing stuff and not able to move the pocket around it, like then the opponent's going to tee off. So, obviously I'll be watching it, but when we get to competition, whether it's joint practices or the preseason, a big element you're going to have to pay attention to is, preseason could be tough because maybe they stay vanilla, but we're going to have some sense that they are able to do the moving, the big stretch plays, the pin and pull, the counters, and all this other stuff. They are able to keep the opponent honest in terms of wondering what's going to happen. Like, there's one play last year where Mason Graham got absolutely drilled on a trap. The Browns have to somehow keep the opposing defensive lines at least thinking that might be coming their way, and have enough force behind it that it's actually going to give them a reason to be worried about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's my whole thing, Pete, is we've seen the Browns struggle with it for a long time, but like football is football, man. 3rd and short, 3rd and goal, 4th and goal, all that stuff. That's such a big part of the game. And because we've seen multiple years where we know going into these situations, this isn't going to work for us. Stefanski would do lots of play action and stuff like that because we don't get the effective push. And that definitely worries me about this line. I love the athleticism. I love what they could be. But when push comes to shove and you need to get dirty and you need to get a yard, that's when it's going to be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm desperately hoping that Taylor Green is viable enough to be active on game day. He can just take the ball and reach. First down.
All right, well, let's go to the other side of the ball. Let's go to the defensive line. So we're locked in with Miles, Isaiah McGuire, and Alex Wright, right? So 4th defensive end, I've got Julian Aquara. I've got the official team site is listing Aiden Huntington as a defensive end right now, which I find interesting.
I would be curious to see if that actually holds up. But yes. Yeah.
But I mean, he's got a build that he
may be operating as sort of a big end.
Yeah. Well, no, I could see that for sure. But then the other two are the undrafted guys. We got Tyreek Sapp and Logan Fano.
They also just added.
They've got him listed as a linebacker, 6'1", 240.
Yes, but realistically, I assume he's going to rush the passer.
Is he more of a kind of pure pass rushing edge type?
I hope so, because that's sort of the thing they need. But like right now, and if he's not, then I feel even more confident that Logan Fano is competing against guy not on team yet.
Yeah.
Because Tyreek Sapp right now is playing big end.
Yeah.
Aiden Huntington, I assume, is playing big end. Like Tyreek Sapp, almost immediately, everything I see him do is down to 3. So I presume they're going to want a real edge out there. So Logan Fano seemingly has the edge on that unless something else comes up. What I found interesting is I was wandering around depth charts is there is a part of me that desperately hopes that the NFL is like, James Pierce, go ahead and play. Just no suspension at all. Because all of a sudden, if that happens, Cam Thomas is sort of just like,
come home, baby.
I don't have a whole lot of reps.
Come home.
Maybe it's time to go home. And you might have to trade for him at that point. But like,
yeah,
it's a weird, like I was looking at their depth chart and like, obviously they were in a different defense and they're sort of more of a base odd front with twitchier edge rushers. But like, they've obviously got Pierce. They've obviously got the other dude who's really good.
Jalen
Walker. Like, they've got a lot of people in that rotation. And I'm sure Cam Thomas will find some snaps, but I could see a world if James Pierce will probably get suspended and blow this up. But nevertheless, like, there might be more reps for him here than there would be in Atlanta, which is just a weird choice.
I'm still surprised that he left. Do you think that had to do with Schwartz?
No, because that was
not that like he followed anybody. I find it interesting that he
theoretically followed the head coach.
Yeah.
Theoretically, I don't know if that's true or not, but Kevin Stefanski was there and he went there. So are those two things necessarily connected? Maybe not.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's swing over to defensive tackle. So we're locked into the top 3, right? We got Mason Graham, Mike Hall Jr., and Malik Collins. And then competing for that 4th spot, you got Kalia Davis, who we signed from San Francisco this offseason. Sam Kamara, who's been on the team for a couple years and just kind of hanging. We got Elijah Chapman, who we just brought over from the Giants. And then I threw him on just to throw him on, but Aiden Huntington. Is this a position that we are, these guys are going to be competing with a 5th guy who's not on the roster right now?
Perhaps. I don't know if there's anything. We'll see. They brought in another underside, like they made a waiver claim from a guy from the Giants who's like 280.
Yeah, that's Elijah Chapman. Yeah.
So they've got Elijah Chapman. They've got like a couple of these super undersized guys.
Yeah.
So the guy I'm really going to be watching and seeing if he can. Let's put it this way: they need Kalia Davis to be effective. They need him to be able to work. I foresee major problems if he gets hurt, which unfortunately has been a thing for him. But if he can't do the thing they need him to do, and there's reason to believe he can. Had a pretty successful season with the 49ers last year. We'll see, but like, if they don't have that becomes really problematic. It's Mason Graham and nothing behind him at that sort of that role.
Yeah.
So,
and you're talking about a 2-down run stopper.
Yeah. I mean, Kalia Davis is certainly not a pass rusher, but he at least is an active. He's sort of like Juwan Briggs, but like not Juwan Briggs, which, obviously breaks my heart. But like, they need something that he's the only one with real heft in there that theoretically can anchor and do those things. And that has obviously been a thing for the Browns. You're hoping that Mason Graham is going to be a better version. He does not look heavier in terms of like sheer weight. You're hoping he's stronger, but like they don't have, other than Kalia Davis is going to be the heaviest guy. They don't have the 350-pound mammoths that some of these teams have. They've got relative to the rest of the league, undersized people that have to win fast. So,
well, that's the thing, Pete. They've been building this defense ever since the Deshaun move. They've been building this defense to pin its ears back and play with a lead. They're fast. It's active. It's attacking. Like that's like they've been playing for the opposite, or they've been building to go along with the opposite of what our offense has been. So it's like it's so intriguing to me. If we get even a top 20 offense, I'm fascinated with what this defense can do.
Yes, but they also are a team that wants to move. And the other part about that that's interesting is like they're undersized inside, but they're big outside. Miles Garrett is obviously huge, but Alex Wright and Isaiah McGuire are big dudes.
And they're physical, yeah.
So that's always been sort of the weird conundrum is like they haven't had that big inside presence, but they've had big outside presence, which works for them. And the fact that's why Carson Schlesinger is so important for them, that he's such a big guy. But yeah, I mean, that's sort of the thing. Now they want to move, they want to stunt, they want to do a whole lot of movement, they want to have linebackers that blitz and all this other stuff. Maybe that can eliminate some of that. And obviously they were successful last year. It's sort of, can they figure it out this year? And then the other part about that, the calculation that some of these teams are making is like, okay, you're going to get a first down or two, but eventually we're going to get that negative play and we're going to make that stop or cause that turnover. The Browns the turnover thing has been the thing the Browns haven't been able to do, but they've largely been right in terms of eventually they get a stop. Now, annoyingly, at least with Jim Schwartz, too often the thing was they either would get a stop immediately or they just wouldn't.
Yeah.
So can they find a little bit more consistency and be able to keep teams out of the end zone when they start moving?
All right. Well, let's keep on moving down the line with the defense here. This is outside of the offensive line one. This is another fascinating one for me. Who's the third linebacker, Pete? I mean, like Buki Watson, right, is kind of like seems like he would be the leader in the clubhouse, maybe. But I like Winston Reed. Justin Jefferson's intriguing. Who knows about Easton Mascarenas-Arnold? I mean, what are you thinking about that third linebacker? And I know ideally it's going to be more of a two linebacker defense with whether it's a third safety or a nickelback, but still, who do you foresee?
Well, I think it's going to depend entirely on what they're asking him to do. But like from here, if you're saying you want a third linebacker, generally that means you want bigger personnel. Mm-hmm. Then the favorite to me would be Buki Watson. He's 255. Or whatever he is. He's easily the biggest guy. And he looked reasonably good, at least in preseason before he got hurt. So can he sort of reclaim that? Because then they get a force player that they really need, because, you know, unless like Mascarenas-Arnold put on 10 pounds, he's like 225. Winston Reed, I know, has a reputation as a hitter, but he's not big. So, and Justin Jefferson looks like a DB.
Yeah. So you think it'd be Watson, which
at this point
makes sense. And he did, Pete. He had a strong preseason a year ago. He looked really good. He looked active. He looked athletic. But he's probably our most physical presence at linebacker. Well, you know, obviously not Schlesinger. But yeah, I mean, and that is interesting. Now, I view Quincy Williams as more of a weak side linebacker anyway. So the third guy would be.
What he is.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that makes sense. Do you think? So you think Ben Jefferson will just slide in behind
Quincy Williams?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think that's the goal, is that he can eventually, you know, Quincy Williams is a former safety. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Jason Tarver had success with JOK and a little bit with Tony Fields. He may look at this and those two combined may sit there and go, listen, man, we've had success with guys with tools. We just got to teach them how to play, and we can get it out of them. So the thing I'll be curious with Jefferson, I'm curious if they ask him to add weight. My suspicion is no. I think they like him at this very weird one. It's special teams, a special teams body. And two, he looks like a DB, a yoked up DB. He also runs really fast. So if he's able to get where they need him to go at that speed, that is intriguing. Now, because he can blitz, because he can be a guy who can he's a homing missile when it comes to like getting quarterbacks or on the move. Yeah. Like he handles really well at speed. So that is at least interesting, but I will be curious. I think it's going to be more of a work in progress to see if he can earn himself a role on defense. But I'm here for it if he can do it.
Yeah, of course. All right. Well, how about the cornerback position, right? Like, you know, the slot corner specifically. So Miles Harden, Trey Avery, Miles Bryant is
not disrespecting Miles Harden.
I like Miles Harden. I like Miles Harden a hell of a lot more than a lot of our buddies do.
On player who's a 7th round pick who immediately stepped in and stop the bleeding of Cam Mitchell immediately.
I feel like he stabilized that position. He played tough. He played well. He's a good athlete. He's fast. He's physical. I'm with you. I thought he was tough. People hate that kid.
Like it drives me. Like don't get me wrong. I understand the thought process of, hey, we'd really like to get a full-time nickel player that can just lock it down. You sit there and go, oh man, D'Angelo Pons, imagine what he could be.
Yeah.
That is clearly not how the Browns view that position. They do not view it as a full-time position. So if you don't view it a full-time position, how much of an investment do you want to make? It clearly suggests that the Browns really like the idea of having 3 safeties on the field a lot. Now, is Harden great? No. Did he get beat at times? Were there games he got picked on? Yeah. You know what? You know why that's going to happen? Because Denzel Ward and Tyson Campbell are really good, and you're going to go find the other guy.
Well, it's also football. We saw Denzel Ward get beat for the game-winning touchdown against Minnesota. It's football, man. That crap happens.
And he's going into year 3. Like I'm hoping, like he played a lot last year.
He played a ton.
I'm hoping that he's going to come back this year and he's going to be better. I'm hoping that he's going to take another step forward. But if you don't put a huge emphasis on that position, you're not going to. If you're saying that like this is a position we're going to play like 20% of snaps overall, just to throw a number out, because obviously your base defense theoretically is going to be 3 safeties, and then you're going to have situations where you're going to have, hopefully rarely, 3 linebackers on the field. You're not going to put an extra corner in that situation. So you're not getting a third corner until potentially dime a save for some specific matchup situations where maybe there's a team that stresses you and you don't like having a third safety on there. Like, how much do you really want to invest? So I understand the idea of, hey, we should probably get better at this position, but like, I'm very curious to see if Miles Harden can step up and be better this year and sort of finish out that role. And if he can, you nailed it for a 7th round pick. Like, you are loving life.
It's fantastic.
Having said that, do I sit there and look at the things, all the guys behind them and go, yeah, I do.
Well, corner's the tight end of the defense, right? We feel great about Fannin. I feel great about Denzel and Tyson, right? But after that, it's like, like, I like a lot of the guys. I like the idea of what they can be, but there's so little production behind it. But one thing that, I mean, you just brought it up. Miles Harden, 7th round pick. He's entering year 3. This is an Andrew Berry draft pick. Like, he played well enough that I would for damn sure want to see what he can do with a little more offensive support, a little more confidence, and a year under his belt. He's entering year 3. Like, I'm sorry. Between the fact that he's got a little physicality to him, I think is nice. I think it's a change of pace for a lot of your slot corners. It gives them versatility.
That's because he was a safety. Like, that's the other part that people don't sort of attribute to him. He played outside corner for South Dakota, but like, he also played as a safety. He's a rough and tumble dude. So I'm curious to see if that sort of allowed, because that's the other part about it. Like, everybody looks at that spot and goes, well, we just want a guy who can cover. Except then, like, we saw this with Greg Newsome in his first year at nickel when they gave him no help. And then teams just ran at him and he had nothing there to protect him. If you've got a guy who's at least willing to attack and like assert, you've at least got a shot to make a play in the backfield. I think Miles Harden's got a little bit more of that edge to his game than Greg Newsome did. Like, that, when I was looking at guys to potentially fill that role, like, that's why I liked a guy like Jalen Everett, and I'm extraordinarily bitter he's a Steeler. So maybe Miles Harden has a little bit of that. So I'm genuinely curious to see if he's better this year, because he could, we could come back in 5 months and go, man, slot corner is a problem, and they're going to have to address it. We can also come back and go, we're basically in the same position where he's okay, and that's fine for what they need him to be. Or there's a world where, like, nope, he's good, and we are set at slot corner, and we paid nothing to get there.
Well, what's so interesting to me is, like, I feel like for the first half of Andrew Berry's tenure as general manager, right? Like, I felt like he knows what he's doing when it comes to DBs, right? I trusted him in that. I felt like he had an eye for it. That was something that he emphasized. Like, we went with Greg Newsome with that pick. We took Emerson. Like, I thought he put an emphasis on it. I was shocked We've done nothing. We've done nothing with the position. We added Miles Bryant to a 1-year prove-it deal, and we signed Michael Coates Jr. Like we've done almost nothing. Like we brought back some guys that were bottom of the roster guys, like Trey Avery and D'Angelo Ross and stuff like that. Aren't you a little bit surprised that we've neglected that position? And that's one of the premium positions. I mean, that's debatable for me, but at least in NFL circles,
they have Coates, Nate Evans, Dom Jones, who I found really intriguing, but didn't do a whole lot. DeCarlos,
and he's the outside guy, right? Isn't he like 6'3"?
He's a press dude.
Yeah.
That's all he's going to do is hit people in the mouth.
Yeah.
DeCarlos Nicholson, who so far all I've seen him do is follow Denzel Boston around because he's basically the same size. D'Angelo Ross, who apparently was good enough to shut down the Cincinnati Bengals and Zach Taylor still has a job. Do not get that, but whatever. One of the all-time stories that Kevin Stefanski or anyone can talk about this team is Joe Burrow was healthy. They had Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and they lost to the Browns without Denzel Ward and Tyson Campbell and could not score. They could not score.
How about they had all of that and the entire division was like crashing and burning and they couldn't capitalize.
So there is some element of betting on like this development thing. And I agree with you. I think it's pretty sketchy. I think it's extremely risky. They clearly have they love to bet on these guys of a certain profile who are tall and long, generally have good agility, and are just angry young men. And I'm here for it, but I do feel I do agree with you to a certain extent where it feels like, man, it is really thin back there. And Denzel Ward, Denzel missed a month of season. And that's concerning. So you are either and you're not a zone team. You're not a team that like diminishes the responsibility of corner. You are a team that counts on major contributions for that position. So that is
you lean into it, yeah.
So that is concerned. Now, the one thing I might argue is as much as they have not done a whole lot, the thought process might be maybe that they're sitting there going, in 2027, we plan to go big. We plan to go big again and get another guy as opposed to getting a fourth or fifth or whatever. Now, you can't really argue the fact that they did not address it in free agency, but that also goes in their mindset of how they view spending money on depth. So I think it's the riskiest position on the roster in terms of what would happen if, God forbid, one of those top two go down with a season-ending injury.
Well, with Denzel, he's going to miss a few.
That's right? Yeah. But I mean, just like if you find out Tyson Campbell is done for the year, like you are in trouble.
Oh, if they have an Emerson deal from a year ago, disaster.
So
absolute disaster. Yeah.
Now, having said that, we turned injuries off this year. It will be no problem. And Tyson Campbell, as far as I know, is indestructible and basically one of my favorite players on the team. So nothing bad could possibly happen.
Is that even a thing? All right. Well, Pete, I got to tell you, I want to play the schedule game, and I want to play the schedule game a few times, right? I want to do it now, and we're going to go game by game. We're going to keep track of what you think the record's going to be and what I think the record's going to be, and we'll talk about the games and stuff like that. But I also want to do it on the eve of training camp, on the eve of the regular season, and those will be the three. We'll kind of track how we view the team evolving and the rest of the league evolving and all that stuff. So we're going to start week 1. Browns, Jacksonville Jaguars. Who's going to win that game, Pete?
I got the Jags winning that one at this point. As much as I desperately want the Browns to win that game and just Andrew Berry to fully complete his ownership of James Gladstone, it's going to be really tough. You're a rookie head coach.
Yeah,
quarterback situation is what it is. You got
Jacksonville's a tough team.
Jacksonville's a team with expectations. You've got an incredibly young team on offense. Like it just has all the makings of this could be a tough game, tough road to win that first one.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, I agree with you. All the reasons we talked about, like Jacksonville's really good. I think Jacksonville is only going to get better. I think they're taking on the identity. Look, I thought that coach, I didn't like him. I didn't like the hire. As soon as he said Duval in that press conference, I was like, oh man, it's like I can't wait till they fire this goof. He's pretty damn good. He's pretty damn good. He impressed me a lot last year. So yeah, I'm with you. I got Jacksonville taking week 1. Browns at Tampa Bay, the one where the emotions are going to be tied into.
Yeah, like here's the thing. I don't know that Tampa's good.
Yeah.
But again, it's a road game in Florida early. I still have the Bucs winning. I don't feel good about it, but they have at least better quarterback right now. But I don't know that the Bucs are good. Like that's the thing. I'm just not convinced. But nevertheless, I think they will be good enough to win that game.
So I'm gonna go the other direction, Pete. I think we win this one, and I think we win this one because I'm not sold on the Buccaneer offensive line or their running game, and I feel like our pass rush can be one of the few teams that really, really take Baker out of his game. And I think we'll be able to move the ball there. Look, I love what they did in the draft. I love adding Trotter at linebacker. I love Reuben Bain. And even Keontae Scott was, he's 30, but he's physical. He's fast. I like the speed and physicality they added to that defense. So I think Tampa's going to be tough, but I think we get them. I think the Browns figure it out.
I foresee a playoff berth on Joe's record.
That's not fair. It's not where we're going. Week 3, Carolina. Home game.
I have all the reason. There's all the reason for Carolina to be better than the Browns. I do not see that little boy beating the Browns. I don't. I don't see the little boy beating the Browns. That offensive line better be ready, because if it's not, Bryce Young is going to die. He's going to be absolutely murdered by that defense.
Agree with that completely.
I have no idea what the Browns are going to be able to do against Carolina's defense. I think the game will be close by virtue of that. I do not foresee the Browns scoring a ton of points, but Bryce Young, not against this defense. I just can't. I can't. The Browns are too tall for Bryce Young. They're too tall. Carson Wentz are too tall. They're all too tall.
Well, that's 2 for 2 right there. I got the Browns over the Panthers here as well. Let's swing it to the next week. Thursday night, Pittsburgh Steelers at home in Cleveland.
I will tell you, this is a must-win game for the Browns.
For the Browns?
It is a must-win game. You're going to hear about this one if they lose. Here's why. You know what the Browns' record is in the last 7 games on Thursday Night Football?
I don't know.
7-0. You know why? Because they're all at home. It is the weirdest scheduling quirk. They're all at home. They have ended up at home 7 in a row, and they've won all of them.
I don't care where the hell the game is. Where do the Browns get off winning 7 straight Thursday nighters?
Kevin Stefanski was an animal on Thursday night.
That's amazing.
Not only that, do you know what the record for the Pittsburgh Steelers is in their last 7 games on Thursday night?
I don't like this, Pete. I feel like you're
1-6 now. They're 1-6, and it's the opposite. The Steelers are constantly on the road for Thursday night. Thursday night games at home is a massive advantage for the home team. It is huge. Short prep week. It is so tough. And so if they lose that game, you are going to hear about it. I just
What's
think the
your
Browns
call, Pete?
I think the Browns are going to win that game.
Let's go. Proud of you, Peter. I am going the other way. I'm going with Pittsburgh just because I feel like I might be a bit of a mush, or a mush. So if my wrong, whatever. But look, it's a short week. Pittsburgh's tough. They're going to be healthy. Like, I don't know. I don't see that going our way. Week 5 at the Jets.
I pray all the players on the field survive. I hate that field so much, and the Browns have to play on it twice. Browns win because the Jets don't want to.
All righty.
You
don't think Geno Smith's going to be out there throwing bombs?
He could. To me, as I said, I think that those first 3 games are so important that the Browns figure themselves out. And I'm hoping they're able to get their stuff together in time to beat Carolina at home. Again, it's a little boy on the other side playing quarterback unless something happens. But like I could see a scenario where they go 0-3, but these are the two games where I sit there and go, they are begging you for you to get 2 wins here.
Okay. Well, week 6, we turn right around and we got the Ravens at home. Where you at on that? Little Munkin revenge game?
Yeah, I mean, it sets up well for the Browns, but I'm going to take the Ravens.
Yeah, samesies.
Again, it's just the Ravens have a weird amount of holes, but they also have really, really good talent in certain spots, and Lamar Jackson is really good. It's just that's the deal. But I mean,
that's the nuclear.
And the thing is, even
MVP at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. And the other part about this, like, it's weird because the Browns have been really good at splitting the series with the Ravens. It's just, I
really
think
good.
I could easily see the Browns being 2-4 at that point in the schedule.
All right, let's go week 7 at the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are another team they're a little, I mean, they're far more solidified at the quarterback position than we are, but they're also not a good football team and hoping to be making strides and all that stuff. But I mean, it's early, but I like the Browns in this.
I desperately hope they can beat Tennessee. Like, again, it's tough because you're on the road. Road games are not easy, but the Titans are real bad. They are just bad. And the biggest thing for me is, 1, the Browns defense should be good, and 2, I don't know if the Titans defense is good at all.
Yeah. Well, first of all, they gave up what? They gave up almost 30 points to the Browns offense last year, man. So you gotta feel he's pretty good about that.
If Shador's starting, he should feel really good going to that game. 364-3, baby.
Yeah, man. All right, well, let's go week 8 at Pittsburgh. I'm going. You know what? No, I think Pittsburgh's going to sweep us. Those sons of bitches.
I think this is tough because the week before this game, Pittsburgh's in France.
Oh, that's right, which I love.
They are coming back from France. Now, the Browns, it's in Pittsburgh, and the Browns, I believe, have a road game, or obviously came off a road game. So I think it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
I think ultimately that sort of ends up being a
kind of a wash.
So, and the Browns, other than the playoff game, I don't know when the last time the Browns won in Pittsburgh is. So I'm taking the Steelers. Again, there's going to be a theme here. The Browns split the division pretty much every time.
Yeah. All right. Well, the following week is our 3rd straight road game at the Saints.
Yeah, I think the Browns are going to lose. And it's not because I think the Saints are good. I think this is a very, very winnable football game. New Orleans is a tough place to play. And I just think
third road game in a row. Yeah.
Just weird. There's no, like, I don't think the Saints are very good, but that's sort of the deal.
All right. So week 10, coming back home, and we've got the Texans, and it is the first of 4 straight home games and a bye. So it's like they're going, like, I want to say they go like 40 days without leaving the state or the city for that matter.
Yeah. This is tough.
It's really
I'm gonna take the Texans because I think their defense is going to be overwhelming.
Yeah, I feel like you have to.
But I'm certainly not going to sit there and go, yeah, CJ Stroud's going to – I feel confident that CJ Stroud's going to be good. I have no idea.
And we just watched him literally try his damnedest to erase everything the defense did in the playoffs by throwing pick after pick and just not protecting the football. So I could definitely see a scenario where he has a horrible day.
I could see that game being low scoring and a heartbreaker. Both this game and the Saints, I could see being low scoring, lose late. You're competitive the whole way and you fight. I just think that defense is going to cause too many problems, and ultimately that's going to be where it's broken. And getting Cade McDonald to that defense is just like infuriating.
Stupid. Agreed. All right, so week 11 is the bye week, and then we're coming back off the bye at home against the Las Vegas Raiders, and I'm going Cleveland on this.
That's a dub.
Yeah.
Unserious football team.
Yeah.
Off the bye. If you lose again, this is where, like, I think the schedule is way more difficult than people like who look at it because none of the teams they play are overwhelming.
Yeah.
But this is the 3rd game that is like pretty much must win. Like, you got to win Pittsburgh at home on the Thursday, Jets on the road because they don't want to win. And and this one where you are coming off the bye and you are playing the Raiders, who you dismantled previously and are maybe better, maybe.
Yeah, no, I definitely think they're better than the Raiders. You think it's a maybe?
No. I think that I'm saying the Raiders are maybe better than they were last year.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm with you there. My only question with Week 12 is, is Fernando Mendoza in the lineup at that point, which I would lean towards yes. I have no doubts that they want to start the year with Kirk, but whether he stays healthy and or plays well enough to keep him off the bench is another thing entirely. But either way, I mean, I'm with you. I'm taking the Browns over the Raiders in that scenario. Then the next week, Week 13, we got the Bengals at home. Look, until Joe Burrow can prove otherwise, I love this matchup for our team. I flat out love it. I'll take it all day long. I don't care where or when we play the Bengals. I feel pretty damn good about it.
It really. Here's what I don't like about this. It's this late that you get the Bengals the first time. Like,
yeah.
If Dexter Lawrence has figured out, and the defensive guys have gotten have sort of found something, like you're in a tough spot. Now I'm still going to take the Browns because it has just been a remarkable trend of success.
Yeah, but Pete, you're not wrong, man. If that team's healthy, look the F out.
They're going to be really good
roster. Yeah.
Now, having said that, as I was doing research for something, I went back and noticed looking at the Halloween route that the Browns put on the Bengals in, what was that, 2022?
Mm-hmm.
That was a Thursday night game, by the way.
That was a Jacoby game.
No, it was. Yeah, but that was also the picks. They had the pick six. I can't remember who got it, but regardless, the Browns beat the crap out of the Bengals. You know where the Bengals ended up? The Super Bowl.
Yeah,
like it's just a weird element.
No, I honestly, you're not wrong, and it's so funny because like Burrow's so good, and Burrow is like he's a bane in the existence of Pittsburgh and Baltimore, but for some reason we just own him on such a crazy letle.
At what point does Joe Burrow go, listen, I'm demanding a trade and no follow-up questions about the Browns?
Yeah,
I just need to get the hell away from this
Cleveland. I want to be on Miles's team just once. All right, so Week 14, and this is, man, we're going to be looking forward to this one. The Atlanta Falcons.
What am I record-wise at this point?
Right now, Pete, I got to tell you, buddy, you're 6-6. I feel really good about this.
Yeah, we just lost. Listen, I have no idea who's going to play quarterback for the Falcons, but they've got a lot of weapons. I think Kevin Stefanski will come home and win that one.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I think Atlanta takes it. Just their offensive talent, number one. Stefanski's going to just have a very, very, very good knowledge of how this team operates and what their strengths and weaknesses are. I think that's just a one where we're going to be outgunned. Atlanta's got a really tough defense too. Atlanta's got a problem with the defense.
What I worry about with Atlanta isn't necessarily that their defense is like overwhelmingly good. It just will do things that cause turnovers.
Yep.
And I have no faith that the Browns at this point. I hope this is something they turn around and they prove me wrong and they can protect the ball. But they've got too many guys who just end up with the ball. And I think that's a game where, one, to your point, the Falcons have really good offensive players and they can put up points. Bijan Robinson's tough. They've got really good skill guys, all that. But I think Kevin Stefanski and his outfit will protect the ball better than the Browns. I think turnovers will be the difference in the game. I think they will lose for that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. So that puts you and I are both 6-7 at the moment. We have different games that we think are going to win, but we're at the same number. Week 14, we're at the New York Giants.
Again, I pray that we survive the turf.
Yeah.
I do think the Giants will win that game. Again, we are at that point in the season. It's going to be tough. I don't know that the Giants are good, but I do think Jim Harbaugh is a good coach, or John Harbaugh is a good coach. Obviously, much will depend on if Jackson Dart is upright and brain intact. They do have a lot of weapons, though. They've got a lot of talent. They just we'll see if the offensive line additions are legit. They have added a lot to try to bolster that unit. Kemp Scadaboo should be healthy at that point.
Yeah.
I think that Malik Neighbors is tough. I think
do you have any concern about him with the extra scoping of the knee and all that stuff? Doesn't that scare the bejesus out of you?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's such a shame too. That kid is so talented. I hate that. That's that scenario, like you said earlier, where you wish you could just turn injuries off, man. Such an unbelievable career that kid could have had. And I mean, he still could, but it's like, All right, week 16 at the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, Ravens. As much again, this is the game that could be weird.
Yeah.
Again, just because the way these two teams play each other, just weird things tend to happen. The Browns defense generally is pretty good against defending them, but too much firepower at this point. I think, we'll see where they end up, but like they're going to be theoretically in the hunt for the division or whatever. I think the Browns will be in trouble at that point. So yeah.
All right. Well, week 17, we final home game against the Indianapolis Colts. And maybe Danny Dimes.
I wish this game was like game 1.
Yeah.
I'm
going Colts. I think the Colts are pretty damn tough. And like, obviously right now, everybody's healthy. So I'm just going to assume that everybody's healthy. I don't trust the Colts to stay healthy, but I'm also not going to project any injuries. So I got the Colts winning this one.
The thing is, like, I'm going to pick the Colts as well. I'm not convinced they're that good either. And like they have some really good players, but
Pete,
like
they're pretty damn tough. Before Danny Dimes got hurt, his numbers were unbelievable.
Yes, don't get me wrong, but they just got rid of one of their receivers and gave him away.
Yeah.
So now they're going to ask more out of the other guys, and they have players that can theoretically do that with Josh Downs and Alec Pierce and
they're going to lean into Pierce.
Tyler Warren.
That I want to say Daniel Jones and Alec Pierce were like when it came to just efficiency, were like the most efficiently productive quarterback wide receiver combo while they were healthy in the whole league. I remember seeing the contract that Alec Pierce got, and then all the money they gave Danny Dimes when I feel like they were negotiating against themselves. I thought it was wild, and then I saw that stat, and I was like, oh, I guess that makes a little bit of sense.
The biggest thing for me with the Colts is Sauce Gardner. If he is healthy, if Charvarius Ward is healthy, those guys are going to be good. But the guy that scares the crap out of me, assuming he's healthy, is Grover Stewart.
Yeah,
that's where I sit there and go, I don't know if they have somebody who can block him.
Yeah, well, I just know that they have 3 guys inside right now that cannot block him. if I was gonna nitpick.
Yeah, I mean it's just really difficult to like. Yeah, it's just a tough spot.
Yeah, and not to go too far off topic, but Phil, let me just tell you, sir, I consider myself a pretty damn unreasonable homer. Okay, so I'm trying to be pretty damn optimistic here. All right, but I'm also trying to be realistic. I think they're going to win a ton of games, but I don't have Monken losing every prove-it game. I've got his young roster losing every prove-it game. This is in no way an indictment on Todd Monken, sir. It's no hatred on Monken at all.
It's the quarterback. Like
yes.
There's nothing you can say right now that says you should believe in the quarterback situation.
Mm-hmm. And I am one of the ones that does. I think Shador can be something, but we have zero reason to. Like the Browns, you can't look at any of these matchups and be like, oh, well, we're going to win the quarterback battle. Like, there's not one. There's not one on our schedule where, like, yeah, I feel good about that matchup. Who is it?
Yeah.
I don't see it. Maybe New Orleans, if you hate Tyler Shuck as much as I did in last draft season. Like, maybe.
That is generally what I'm worried about, or not worried. I'm curious if the bottom falls out on Shuck. The biggest thing is he might just get hurt. I mean, that was the thing. He was hurt constantly in college. Like he would just be walking along and something would break in him.
Yeah, no, he did. He
It wasn't just injuries; it was weird injuries.
Yeah. Well, hey, man. I still would say that was the surprise of last year for the rookie class for me. He looked legit. He looked pretty damn tough. Throws a really good ball, and that's not a great New Orleans team. I mean, Spencer Rattler couldn't,
No, it's really how. Well, I think getting the Saints late in the year is pretty interesting because potentially all their stars may be hurt.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
Tyson and Olave and Shuck, they've got a whole lot of guys on the team that are like fragile.
Made of paper mache.
So we'll see if they're still intact. That could change that game, but since New Orleans is a weird place to play.
All right. Well, just to wrap up the schedule game here, Week 18 at Cincinnati. I got to tell you, you know me, buddy. I'm going Browns again because I just don't have faith in the Bengals. How about you? You think Cincy gets some revenge?
My only consideration here is if the Bengals have won the division and don't care at this point, and they've got their backups in, or if they're if they need to win. If they need to win, I think the Browns are in trouble because it's in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pick the Bengals based on that, but I don't rule out the possibility the Browns will get a cheapie because the Bengals have wrapped up the division already and are getting ready for the postseason.
Well, that's reasonable and perfectly reasonable. I mean, I think anybody outside of Cleveland would take the Bengals in both of those games. It's just us Clevelanders know that they just can't handle the pressure. But it looks like your final record, Pete, is going to be 6-11, and mine is going to be 7-10. All right, very, very interesting. And we'll see. I mean, we'll see how that shakes out with the rest of the summer, any moves that are still going to happen or injuries or stuff like that. But either way, it should be fun. Now, as far as the schedule is concerned, are you I'm for one, I'm thrilled we don't have a game overseas. That makes me very, very happy. What do you think about the schedule? Do you think it's a good thing that we're starting on the road? Do you think it's a bad thing we're starting on the road?
Well, it's good from the standpoint of my expectations coming out of week one are very low, given not only the quarterback position, but just how young they are on offense. As I said, I think it's going to take them a couple weeks to sort of get their bearings and get things figured out. So if I'm going to potentially have games that are just going to be like, I don't want to say throw away, but games you feel like you're not yourself relative to where you will be. Okay, I will accept losing to two teams that have playoff aspirations on the road. I will save my home games and more winnable games for later in the year when I feel like hopefully something will have come together. I feel better about this. I mean, like if you are Coach Monken here and you are sitting there going, how do I sort of anticipate this season playing out? I think you're sitting there going, I don't expect a super fast start. I'm hoping things come together. We stay healthy and we get better over the course of the year. So that sort of fits into that mentality.
Yeah. And look, which is fair. It's year one in this regime. We've talked about it ever since they hired him. What is his directive? Like, what is the message from Jimmy and Andrew? Is it we need this many wins, or wins are what's most important, or is it a process? Is it developing?
For ownership, it seems to be wins. But yes,
yeah. Well, I mean, that's the whole thing, though. It's I feel like there's no positive take of ownership coming out and saying it's not about wins, right? Especially after we've had previous seasons where it was clearly not about wins and we did the tanking thing. We didn't maybe get the results that we wanted. So like the idea of saying that we're continuing tanking in some capacity just isn't going to work, So I could see Jimmy Haslam saying the only thing I care about wins. It's unacceptable. 5 wasn't enough last year. It's not going to be enough this year. Yada, yada, yada. I get all that. I don't think it should be so black and white that if Todd Monken only wins 5 games, Jimmy Haslam's going to be like, well, we got to rethink everything. I don't think that's the case. He might say that publicly. I don't think it should be the case, though.
Right. As I said at the time, I think it would have been better off for Jimmy Haslam to have said, I'm just tired of looking Kevin Stefanski's face, and as a result, I'm getting rid of him, rather than say, we didn't win enough because I think that was delusional relative to what they had. And the evidence is in the fact that they brought in at least 12 new players on offense this offseason. So if that's my feeling last year, I think I have the same feeling this year. You've got a very young team. And like, as much as we want to pretend young players aren't going to make mistakes, we saw them do it last year. Like, I am 100% behind the decision to go for 2 and the play they ran with Quinshon Judkins against the Colts.
Yep.
A rookie made a boneheaded mistake, and the Browns are
player failure.
And the Browns are going to be counting on a whole lot of those guys. And I say this right now. If those are the guys, if Concepcion and Boston and Fannin and Judkins and Sampson and all those guys are your dudes and Fano, I'm going to make they're going to make mistakes. I'm going to keep putting them in position where they're going to make mistakes and work through it and get better for it. And like, that's the thing that people have to sort of embrace. Like I think part of what made last year so difficult for people is they had this belief that like it was going to be really ugly initially, and then somehow they were going to rally and get way better based on hope. Like there just wasn't much there. You can make the case maybe that this year, because they have guys that like, because they have Boston, because they have Concepcion, because they have these guys, that there's reason for that. But I think you have to prepare yourself for the possibility that like it's going to take this year to figure it out. And then hopefully next year, like nothing would make me happier if the Concepcion and Boston are just as good as Schlesinger and Judkins were right out of the gate last year or Fannin. Like I don't know that that's realistic. And as you pointed out already, they are the most dependent position on the field. Like Spencer Fano can go kick ass and win his matchup every play. But we saw this. Jerry Jeudy against the San Francisco 49ers could have had like 135 yards and the ball didn't go to him.
Yep.
So that's a tough element to this whole thing. Now I'm hoping we're sitting here and we're talking about this, like, even if things aren't going that well, that we're sitting there going, man, Casey Concepcion, it is so easy for him to get open.
Yeah.
And it ends up
you'll see the flashes, right?
Yes.
And, my whole thing is too, and we have people in the chat, pointing out that, I think it was Phil saying that, he expects, Todd Monken to be able to coax a win or two where like we shouldn't, necessarily have one. Like, I don't doubt that Monken is going to do a good job this year. And I don't doubt that he's going to be able to tap into some, certain guys and get production out of certain people. But I don't look at this quarterback group and be like, they're just good coaching away from being really good. Like, I like the idea of Shedeur, right? And I like the idea of what Shedeur can be, but Shedeur is either going to be that or he's not. It's not really going to be like Todd Monken that gets it out of him. That probably sounds confusing. I don't think he's going to be able to do anything to make Deshaun not Deshaun. Like, right. I don't want to be like, Todd Monken wasn't able to get anything out of these guys. I don't think that's a Todd Monken problem. I think that's a quarterback room problem that is either going to be proven to be the biggest issue and something that we absolutely need to figure out, or maybe, one of them just like finds lightning in a bottle and it happens. But I'm not going to hold Todd Monken to any sort of negative thoughts based on what he gets out of this quarterback room. I think that's completely disingenuous.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, nothing would make me happier than Shedeur comes out, balls out, and he's the answer. I just don't think that's a reasonable or something people should expect.
Yeah.
If he's good, look out! Like, all of a sudden, we're talking about playoffs.
We're talking about everything. Everything.
Yeah, it's all the things are on the table. But if we get even slightly better quarterback play, it would make a difference. But if we are coming out of the season, we're going, I mean, again, the dream outcome to me, the one that I think is at least, I think the most reasonable outcome for this potentially is to come out of the season and go, the Browns have a great infrastructure on offense. They need a couple more pieces, probably another lineman in like right guard and whatever, another tight end. But it is ready for a quarterback to come in and take this thing. Like, that is, to me, a reasonable place to end up. Anything beyond that, and we are really, really happy with that.
Well, I think that was our hope for this offseason because we talked about it. As soon as we knew that we were going to be picking sixth, right, and that Mendoza was pretty much the only, real show in town for this year's draft and everything, we started looking at 2027. And that was, at least between the two of us, we had hoped that we got to a point this offseason where we could make it an attractive job for next year. Whether it's a higher profile free agent or, you're going to take a guy in the first round, set the table, like get the cockpit ready to plug in a good pilot and then get ready to go. And I think that's what they've done. I think worst case scenario is that the quarterbacks are as bad as everybody fears and they just can't get the offense going this year. But I still feel so good about where the offense is at, especially in comparison to just 3-4 months ago.
Yeah, I mean, last year, obviously, like a lot of the things went to defense. You got Mason Graham and you got Carson Sweatshirt, which is great. They were really good. And we got to enjoy Harold Fannin and Quinshon Judkins, and those guys look really, really good. You have Fano and Brailsford and Barber, and I don't know how much those guys are going to play, but they are there. You have Boston and Concepcion, and those guys are going to play a lot. Royer's going to get Royer and Ryan are likely going to get a whole lot of opportunities. Obviously, we had the quarterbacks last year, which didn't go great, but nevertheless, you just have more things to look forward to on this side of the ball to sort of see this thing get figured out and grow. And obviously not a draft pick, but I would include Zion Johnson in that grouping because he's 26. They've invested heavily in him. In some ways, he's still an unknown. I am inclined to believe that the scheme switch is going to be very, very good for him. Mm-hmm. I think what I think the Browns are going to ask him to do is way more in his wheelhouse than what he was being asked to do with the Chargers. And we'll see. But that's one more element where if like you're going to sit there and you're absolutely going to be watching the left side of that line and go, where are we with this? Because Fano and Zion Johnson have to work. If Parker Brailsford is added to that group and you've got three guys there and they all look good, we are in business as far as that goes. And then I'm super excited about Austin Barber. I really like him. I maybe more than I should be. And obviously he's a developmental player and the likelihood is, Titus Howard's the right tackle. And so Austin Barber's going to be a swing guy. Hopefully we don't see him because the group stays super healthy.
Yeah.
But I am really excited about what Austin Barber can be based on what I've seen. So again, that's another potential piece. So it's just, it just from a numbers standpoint, it is so much more than what we had last year on offense, even though we got successful players and Harold Fan looks like a star and Quinshon Judkins looks like a stud. Like, yeah, there's just so many more things.
Yeah, no, I agree with that completely. And, and that's the thing. And Austin Barber, and I brought it up before. This is a guy that Andrew Berry traded up to get. He targeted and he aggressively moved up and he got him. Like they have very, very definitive plans for him and they like him quite a bit. So I don't think it's impossible to assume that if he's not going to be starting next year, he has a chance to push for it by the end of this year. He just does.
I mean, I look at it more of 2027 and 2028, even just the way Howard's contract is. It's really, I don't love Howard's contract. I'll be honest. I understand why
for the first move that they had to make.
I understand why they did it.
Understand it. Yeah,
I understand the thought process, and yes, theoretically, there's a world where you could move him to something else like guard, but just the way the contract works, I don't love. But nevertheless, so I'm sort of looking Austin Barber more in 2027, and then 2028, perhaps if we get 2 years of Titus Howard, and like that's the weird part. It's weird to me because I'm sort of in looking at it from the standpoint of I love Austin Barber's upside as a run blocker, and I'm more excited about that than Titus Howard being old reliable at pass protector. So that's part of it. But like one, hopefully Austin Barber develops. But if Titus Howard is good enough where you're sitting there going, yeah, bring him back, have him start another year. That's not exactly a bad place to be. Just I'm sort of excited to get to the thing.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go around the league real quick. Rashee Rice can't seem to get out of his own damn way, and he's going to spend 30 days in jail because he violated probation due to smoking marijuana. Do you think Kansas City regrets trading up and taking Mansour Delane and not addressing wide receiver? or at least keeping a third rounder to address wide receiver?
No, but because their corner situation was awful.
Yeah.
And obviously they put themselves in that hole.
Yeah.
With the trade, they needed a corner, and if they, I think if anything, they're sitting there going, I wonder if he still would have been there at 9.
Yeah.
That's the only thing where I think they wonder. I think they're happy that they got him. They paid the price they felt like they had to secure him, because if the Saints took him, for example, they may have been in real trouble, because there's no, like, relative to what they need, there's nobody for a very long time that would fill that role the way Mansour Delane does. But to your point, the Chiefs' offense was not good last year.
No,
it was not good when Mahomes was healthy. So, and they have not done anything to really add to it.
They haven't done anything. Their starters right now are Xavier Worthy and Tyquan Thornton.
Well, they did add a running back. I mean, they added a real running back to the mix, which is going to change their offense. But like, to your point, Travis Kelce is a Husk.
Yep.
And you've got tiny, speedy guys and not much else. So that's where I sit there and go, hey, we've got receivers. If you want to give us lucrative draft picks for them, if that's why I could see a world where those two teams make a deal following up and talk about the potential for Central Gentlemen. But listen, I couldn't feel better about the Chiefs because they've been doing this for years. And they never get crap for it. The Chiefs bet on so many dubious character guys and then have managed to get away with it because Patrick Mahomes is really good. And then like Tyreek Hill was really good, even as he was still doing the things.
Well, there's an interesting name, Pete. Does Tyreek Hill circle back and go to Kansas City now?
Probably.
Yeah.
The answer is probably.
Yeah.
Like, the Chiefs have no shame with this stuff. They get no, like, there are teams where stuff sticks to them. The Chiefs are never one of them. And it's, again,
because they win.
Lombardi trophies.
They win. That's it.
Point to the Lombardi trophies. You're like, I don't care.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, it was crazy that Rashee Rice had gotten away with as much as he had in terms of like escaping any culpability to then why or when he had, he tested positive, or if it was a result of getting the surgery or what. I don't know, but like, it's not only that he screws up and fails his probation, it's that now he also had to get surgery to clean up his knee. Theoretically, is going to be in jail with a surgically repaired knee for 30 days. Is going to still miss time as he tries to get back from that. So it's a very tenuous situation. Now the Chiefs have been able to succeed betting on defense and getting enough out of Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, last year that was not enough. So that's where I think your worry is very I think you're right on to be concerned about that. So, is there a big trade coming? Is Tyreek Hill going to go there? I think all options are on the table with that.
They might have the worst receiver room in the league right now.
Well, that's good because that means it's not the Browns.
Yeah, no, honestly, I'm not even kidding. Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Tyquan Thornton, Jalen.
It's all guys who just go. It's all guys who just run fast and go down the field.
Yeah, and Jalen Royals, who I actually like. Who was he was Nevada State, right? Jalen Royals,
Utah State.
That's right.
And yes, he was kind of interesting.
Yeah,
but what did the Chiefs?
Allen, Nico Remigio, Jason Brownlee, Jimmy Holiday, Andrew Armstrong, Jeff Caldwell.
Yes,
these guys sound like video game designers. What are we talking about? This is crazy.
They've still got Kelce, who's a Husk, Noah Gray, Jared Wiley, Jake Brenningstool, Trey Watson.
They drafted John Michael Gillenborg, your boy. Yep.
Or John Michael Gillenborg, which annoys the crap out of me. So it's a genuine question how good that group could be. So I'm sitting there as a team that all of a sudden has a bunch of receivers and going, hey.
Compared to them, we got a glut, dude.
Yes. So I'll be curious to see if they are they a team that's all of a sudden going to come out of nowhere and try to trade for Brandon Ayuk or something? Like, it's I could see them do basically anything.
Yeah, that is interesting. How about Rodgers going back to Pittsburgh 1 year, $25 million? And what does Pittsburgh do? Is that a we're going to get rid of Mason Rudolph, or are they going to hold him and get rid of one of the young guys? Obviously, Will Howard.
By the way, I forgot Stephon Diggs is still out there. They could theoretically add him.
That's all right.
So, based on what we've seen in the 1 day of OTAs, which means everything, it went Aaron Rodgers, Will Howard, Mason Rudolph, Drew Allard. And they have, as we talked about, they have every incentive to get as many reps for Will Howard as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not he's good enough to beat out Mason Rudolph is unclear, but that seems to be the battle. Yeah. And I think
they're going to keep Allard. You're not going to move off that. So it's basically Howard and Rudolph.
Yeah, I mean, they used a 3rd-round pick on him, and they have already committed to basically deprogramming him from everything he learned in college to fix it. I think Pittsburgh is holding out hope that somebody suffers an injury or something weird happens and they can trade Mason Rudolph. Now, what is Mason Rudolph worth? Nothing to me, but maybe somebody else is willing to give up something for him.
Yeah. Well, last thing before we get ready to skedaddle here, let's talk about Brennan Sorsby. Let's talk about this whole situation, right? Because, I mean, the supplemental draft is a realistic possibility.
Yep.
How would you feel if he were to enter the supplemental draft? How early do you think somebody would, risk a pick? And do you think the Browns would be in that conversation?
A lot of things there. So Sorsby is alleged to have bet like 10,000, made like 10,000 bets.
A lot of bets, yes.
Now, originally it was like, well, he likes to go to Reds games and bet balls and strikes, which weird, but whatever.
Yeah.
But then it came out that he bet on football and his own team in Indiana.
Yeah.
And he has basically come out and sort of admitted it, basically saying, I bet on my team to feel more involved, closer to my teammates and have a rooting interest, which I'm sad that Pete Rose didn't try that. I'm genuinely sad that wasn't Pete Rose's explanation.
It's like, look, I don't get to play, all right? So I need juice. I need something, okay?
That's terrifying. That is genuinely terrifying. Like, that's not good. Anyway,
you don't love his honesty though, just a little bit.
I think the gall is awesome to be like, listen, man, I did this for you, the team. I was trying to be close to my team.
Boring it is to just watch from the sidelines.
I know, it's like he plays baseball or something. So the other part, so that's its own issue. He bet on his own team, which is like the cardinal sin.
Yeah.
Of all, like.
Oh yeah.
I think that upgrades it so much. If he was just betting in a gambling addict, that is problematic enough and enough reason for me to be out. But he bet on his own team. Like this is the part that there's a bunch of tentacles to this thing that could theoretically reach further than anyone seems to be willing to acknowledge. He theoretically bet illegally because he wasn't of age to do it. So I doubt state law is going to get involved, but nevertheless could.
Yeah.
But he bet on his own team. The NFL could absolutely punish Brendan Sorsby for gambling on his own team. They punished Terrell Pryor for selling his stuff at Ohio State for impermissible benefits, which has nothing to do with the NFL at all. But they punished him to send a message to all these other people. Like, there is no good argument to punish Terrell Pryor, and yet they did it. So they could absolutely punish Sorsby and have more reason to do it because he bet on his own team.
Yeah.
If you bet on anything in a team facility, you use like a gambling app, which is tracked.
You're like done for
You're out for a year.
Yeah.
So that is not great. The last part that isn't great, and why I think the entire conversation is a waste of time and completely impractical. Well, there's multiple more reasons, but let's start here. Let's start with the fact that the Browns have 4 quarterbacks right now.
Mm-hmm.
If they were to get Sorsby,
2 are gone.
Like Shedeur Sanders is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Dalen Gabriel is gone. They're not going to cut Taylor Green. Like he is
It'll be
of the guys they
Deshaun,
have.
Worsby, and yeah.
Of the guys they have, only Todd Monken has only picked one of them, and Sorsby would be two. So they are basically saying, both of you hit the brakes, we're done. That to me makes no sense. What's worse, once this whole thing is adjudicated, if he has to go in the supplemental draft, he has to decide to apply for the supplemental draft in June, June 22nd. The supplemental draft does not happen until late July. So you are essentially getting the player if you win, and you are awarded that player as training camp is set to begin.
Yeah.
He is 2 months behind everybody else at the position. That is before we get to the potential for a suspension. That is before we get to anything else. You are saying Brent Sorsby is not going to be a factor for the entire first year. And depending on how much you spend on that pick, you may well be taking yourself out of 2027 for a guy who will not be able to play this year and will have proven absolutely nothing. This is an insane idea that people keep forwarding. Ignore all, like, even if you think, take the gambling out of it. Let's just say he's in the supplemental draft and there's no gambling issue. That's still not a great idea. But then you add in the fact that I'm not calling him a gambling addict. Brendan Sorsby is calling himself a gambling addict and putting himself in rehab.
Well, and he justified it too. He's like, we weren't very good. I didn't win a lot. It's like, well,
yeah, I mean,
that's not the point.
I mean, to be fair, the only real cure to a gambling problem is winning.
Yes.
As I'm sure he would attest, if he was winning, this would not be a problem. So you are the Cleveland Browns. You drafted Johnny Manziel. You are the team that also supplementally drafted Josh Gordon. Completely different substances and issues. Nevertheless, Johnny Manziel was never anything and was never going to be anything because he was an alcoholic, among other problems.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Gordon self-destructed his own career. I mean, yes, you can sit there and go, man, look at Josh Gordon. He was great for this 2013, great year, all pro, all this stuff. He killed his own career.
Yep.
That's the good scenario, is that you had an all-pro season and killed your career. This is the quarterback position. Like, this is the other part that nobody wants to seem to acknowledge. This is supposed to be the leader of the football team.
Yep.
And you're
if there's one position where self-control would be important, it would probably be the quarterback position.
Like, it is, and there's is he? I would love to get Joe Royer to be able to answer this honestly. Like, was he saying, hey, what odds do you give me that I don't call I don't call the play the coach wants? Or what do you think about the chances I score a touchdown? 10-1? Like, those are just fascinating to me. So the Brown, it's another get rich quick scheme at a position where people around this team cannot help themselves to try to do. And you and I go back to people trying to sell us on the idea of trading for the Kevin Kolbs of the world and all these other guys, which are the same deal. Get rich quick schemes. Do anything to avoid doing the hard thing, which is going out, scouting it, using the real picks, making the move, like make the real investment.
Well, do you not remember when Adrian McPherson threw the ball 60 yards through the uprights?
Over the mountains.
I do.
Yeah, like
hashtag never forget.
Any excuse not to do the hard thing is just crazy to me. So, like, to me, just stop trying to do the get rich quick. Let somebody else take it. If it works for him, great. More power to him. I hope Sorsby works out. I got nothing against the kid. Yeah. But the Browns, when they don't do this type of stuff, have been pretty successful.
So just don't do it.
Just stop doing dumb shit and stay on the court. Like, the other part about this I can't help but notice is, like, the Brown, they see the light at the end of the tunnel, the self-inflicted Deshaun Watson punishment tunnel they are currently in. And they see the light, and they see the light, and they see the light, and then they go, oh, Brendan Sorsby there on the right, and then jerk the wheel into a wall right before they get out and put themselves, like, back in the tunnel. Like, just get out of this and do it the right way. Like, I get the idea that you don't want to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. You said I don't want to have waste years and years and years doing this, but like,
yeah,
there's something to be said for not just throwing this thing away and trying the first stupid scheme you can think up to try. And that's what it amounts to be. I thought Brendan Sorsby was a talented quarterback. I thought he desperately needed another year. I thought Texas Tech was going to be really, really good for him.
Yep.
And he's not going to get that. Like, that's another part that this is really tough for me. So I'm bummed. I'm already sitting here thinking of the softball Simpsons episode, and I see Ozzie Smith spinning as he goes down the hole, as this is one of many things that will happen to screw this whole thing for me. Nevertheless, I will pass.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. I thought it was interesting, and I think that somebody will ultimately give up an asset that's I don't think he'll go in the first round, but I could see a team that is probably going to be drafting in the second half of the round giving up a second rounder and just taking a shot if they've got an older starter and they have time.
The other thing, it would not shock me, is if the commissioner quietly tells all the teams,
nobody touches
this is what, that if you do this, we are going to suspend him this much.
Yeah.
To scare that, because if somebody uses a huge pick on a guy who's a gambling addict,
yep,
and your sport is married to gambling at this point, it just, the headlines write themselves, and I think they desperately want to avoid that. And I think the NFL would really, really prefer it if it's like a 4th round pick.
Yeah, well, it would have been nice if they would have stepped up in this moral high ground maybe 5 years ago. That would have been nice.
But I think that's a factor that I wonder if the commissioner's like, listen, if you guys use a 1st or 2nd round pick out of him, he's going out for the season.
Yeah, so just be prepared. I mean, realistically, you nailed it. Chances are like pretty good that he's at least going to get half the year, if not more, because they don't play with gambling. They do not.
And if they don't, what does that then say?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It's a horrible mess.
They've set the standard. They've said it. It's a year. So I think
what's his punishment if he gets $5 million to go play at Texas Tech, and then Texas Tech gets screwed out of this year because they put their investment in the wrong kid because he had this stuff coming down the pipeline, and then that's his punishment is Texas Tech is screwed, but he gets to go be a 1st round pick.
Yeah. So I think a suspension is coming. I will not be surprised if it's a year.
Yeah,
I just think, I just think that is going to be the way to protect themselves from making this too big of a story, being able to go, hey, we're really tough on this, and we really don't want our players doing it, even though, hey, gambling, keep giving us money. Like it's not a good look for anybody, but I think that's their way to sort of get around it.
Well, that makes plenty of sense, and I could easily see the league going in that direction. But either way, guys, it's the end of the line here. Thank you for sticking with us. Thanks everybody in the chat. You know, Willie, Irish, Phil, all you guys, man, we appreciate it greatly. Pete, as usual, great show. You're always bringing us strong.
The Cavs hold this late and win. We did
Fingers crossed, baby.
No, we did it. No, we did it. We did it. It's on us. 13 points right now. They're winning. If they lose, it's our fault for not broadcasting straight through.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. I don't really like that pressure, but it's I understand it at least. Either way, great show. Thank you for sticking with us, guys. Thank you for the OBR Streaming Network for hosting us. You guys are the best, and we will catch you all later, man. Have an awesome week, and we got Memorial Day, right? Happy Memorial Day. Y'all take it easy. Go Browns.